We have been invaded for over 3,000 years, all big empires, and the last one was the biggest war machine that humanity has ever known.
They spread death and destruction and fire all over Crete. Their aim to destroy the spirit of the Cretans, but they failed miserably.
The amazing thing was we were just a few people, a bunch of people. We were clinging, hanging to the rocks. We refused to go. Our attitude was, here we go again.
Autumn 1940. Hitler's tyranny consumes all of Europe. His armies are charging southward, smashing through the Balkans to Europe's southern shores. One island remains, the island where Zeus was born, an island of heroes.
In 1939, I was drafted in the Greek army. 1940, October, Mussolini attacked Greece. Hitler captured France and all Western Europe. Mussolini got envious and jealous, and he wanted to show his partner that he also is a great warrior, and attacked Greece. The Italians outnumbered the Greeks 2-1, and not only that, but they had superior war equipment, tanks, artillery, air force, and yet the Greek spirit pushed the Italians back to Albania, and in the process, the Greeks captured many Italians prisoners and war equipment that we badly needed. There was so much pride, not only in the Greek army, but the citizens. Everyone was singing, everyone was happy. We destroyed Duce.
Hitler was not very happy with what happened in southeastern Europe. He had to divert forces that were designated for Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union.
I remember seeing thousands of tanks, artillery pieces, airplanes. It was an entirely different war with the Germans. So within 3 days, they captured eastern part of North Greece. The British troops retreated to evacuate from the mainland to Crete. They left all their equipment behind. They were tired and not ready to start another fight.
I was evacuated from Greece to Crete on the Calcutta. We were absolutely exhausted. We were camped, for want of a better word, in olive groves. There were no shelters, no tents, no kit. There were virtually no supplies, 5 rounds of ammunition, which was all the ammunition I had.
Hitler was not particularly interested in southeastern Europe. His focus was Operation Barbarossa. After much back and forth, the compromise was that Crete would be taken by an airborne attack. This would avoid using any ground troops that were slated for the Soviet Union.
When I arrived in Crete, April 28, 1941, the general belief was that the Germans will attack Crete. We knew that the 5th Division, the Cretan Division, was in Albania. We knew there was no army in Crete to fight the Germans. The general population psychologically prepared themselves for that. Our sons fight in Albania. We have to take their place. And take their place, they did.
Before the invasion, they start bombing everything they can get. Actually, the worst of all is the screaming of the bomb when they come close to you. Break your nerve.
The German Air Force was constantly bombing the cities and the villages and everything that was moving. They were coming so low that I remember seeing the olive trees shaking back and forth.
The fear began initially with the bombings. The whole area was literally shaking, and it made people panic. And when we children saw the adults panicking, that fear was transmitted to us as well.
The women were screaming, they were crying. We gathered our children together as quickly as we could, and we fled to the mountains, to the caves.
It's a terrifying sound, a terrifying ordeal to be on the receiving end of a Stuka dive. They seem to be diving straight at you, you know, as if it's me that they're coming for.
They were bombing from the south side of Heraklion to the north side, 3 planes at a time. I was looking for my father so we could escape, but the bombing suddenly got very close. It happened so quickly, I could make it to the zigzag trenches, just a few meters away. But if I held, I would be there today, because that's exactly where one of the bombs hit. They destroy all of Heraklion.
There was fear, no question about that. But that fear brought anger. Let me tell you, the iron that was coming down and the fire made the Cretan hard, harder than the German steel, and the Cretan spirit harder than the German fire. And when they came down, May 20, 1941, the Cretan people were ready for them.
One morning, the Stuka raids stopped, the Messerschmitt raids stopped, and there was a sort of an eerie silence. It was quite strange because your ears and your nerves had got so used to this continual bombing and strapping that it was totally strange to see the sun and hear the silence, because you could hear the silence. It was so lovely. But it didn't last for very long when a different noise came.
So we gradually got out of the slit trenches and stood up, and then somebody said, "My God, what's that?" And looking over towards Malamy, we could see the air fleet coming in from the sea around there. I don't know how many aircraft there were, but it seemed to be that you could hardly put a pin in between them. And then all of a sudden, the whole sky seemed to open up at all colours of the rainbow, with the parachutists dropping down there.
I was up in an olive tree watching them come down. I was only 15 years old and had no idea what I was seeing. I told my friend, "Oh, Andrea, the whole sky is full of umbrellas."
It was for me something fascinating, a spectacular sight. And then, of course, immediately cries were from everywhere. The Germans are coming, the Germans are here or are being dropped. And then I knew, and then I was afraid. But the Cretan spirit is always the same. Immediately people went down to fight.
The German paratroopers were the elite of the elite. They came from Prussia, a lot of them, from a lot of old German families that had served the German armed forces for a long time.
The Germans started dropping paratroopers early on in Hanya, May 20th. And in the afternoon, they dropped in Rethymnon and Heraklion. I was in Rethymnon. I remember when the airplanes started dropping the paratroopers, the whole city, like a body, started moving. They started ringing the bells, the church bells, "Freedom! Save the city! Stop the Germans!" Men, women, children, with nothing, no equipment, and we stopped the advance of the Germans to enter Rethymnon.
We did not have many guns then, but still everyone ran to fight. Women and men, children young and old. They went with mattocks. They went with sticks. Whatever they could find.
Those who came from the sky we call the sky people, and we vow that they would not succeed in enslaving us. I ran with my older brother who had fought in the Albanian War. He was home in furlough. He quickly managed to capture a German rifle. There was an 80-year-old man fighting with my brother, and the old man had just a little Luger pistol. Can you imagine a man with a Luger trying to fight someone with a machine gun? We said to him, "Where are you going with that little Luger? They will kill you." "Listen to me," he said. "I'm an old man. It doesn't matter." They took position during the fight, and my brother turned around and saw that the old man had been shot dead. When the others saw that brave old man and what he sacrificed, they suddenly became giants like him.
They call Crete the graveyard of the German paratroopers. This elite formation, which was born out of the early years of World War II and had achieved so much, effectively was slaughtered over Crete. Hitler would never again authorize the use of paratroopers in a conventional battle, and they were not used again for the duration of the war.
In Leofita, we kids found between 50 and 100 paratrooper bodies. I saw in one cut-up tree a German hanging there, and around his neck he had an automatic gun, and he also had a camera. I said, I'm going to take these for sure, and I took them. I also took a wireless radio. I gave an English soldier the wireless, and he gave me a watch in exchange. I still have this watch today.
They expected to take over Crete the first day. They had a big surprise. The next few days, we started getting organized and getting cooperation with the New Zealanders. When to attack, what places, what positions, and what time.
The Germans were in serious trouble around Malemi and Hanya. The objectives of the first day of operations was the capture of the 3 primary airfields, which would have enabled the German to land troops by bombers by any other planes. The New Zealanders fought back with great determination and practically had pushed the Germans off their first targets. As far as the German High Command was concerned, the battle was lost. The situation around Malemi was desperate for the Germans. The German High Command had authorized a withdrawal. The German troops were just hanging on. The New Zealanders who held Hill 107 fought very hard, but they didn't have the necessary weapons, especially tanks and artillery, with which to hold the hill and, of course, ultimately, the airfield. All Freiburg had to do was order a counterattack against Hill 107 that controlled Malemi Airfield. However, because he failed to order the counterattack, the Germans hang on to the hill, captured the airfield, and were able to fly in 5,000 fresh troops the next morning. Despite the mistakes that Freiburg made and despite the British defeat, the Cretans went on to fight for another 9 days.
Every evening, we make an attack. At that time, though, I remember I had 5 rounds in my gun. How long can I last? We would attack them. They would start with the machine guns and hand grenades and stopped us, push us back.
The Germans were not used to such resistance. Hitler bitterly complained that it took 8 days to capture France. Why was Crete still hanging on? By the 7th day, the British